6 months after the night the Millers tried to silence me for good, our community hosted representatives from neighborhoods across the county. The FBI investigation had uncovered corrupt HOA schemes in 12 different communities, all connected to the Miller family's real estate manipulation operation. What began with one neighborhood's financial documents had exposed a decades-long criminal enterprise that had stolen millions from ordinary homeowners. Commissioner Miller, his brother-in-law, and Heather all received substantial prison sentences. Karen, already incarcerated, faced additional charges that would keep her behind bars for many more years. Our community's model of transparency and resident involvement became a blueprint for HOA reform legislation at the state level. Mike started a non-profit organization training homeowners to identify and prevent fraud in their communities. As for my family, we finally felt truly safe in our home. The neighbor kids played freely in our yards without fear of violation notices, and our community made decisions together based on actual needs rather than hidden agendas. Sometimes the most valuable thing isn't exposing a villain, but what happens afterward. How people rebuild, reconnect, and create something stronger from the broken pieces. One private investigator hired to spy on me had helped save not just my neighborhood, but countless communities from invisible corruption. The evidence revealed a county-wide operation spanning decades. The Millers hadn't just been stealing from our HOA, they'd been manipulating property values, assessments, and zoning decisions across the entire region through Commissioner Miller's political connections. Their family had quietly amassed millions by forcing property sales, changing land designations, and funneling deals to their associates. Karen's conviction threatened to expose everything if investigators started pulling threads. Mike explained. Heather came back, not just for revenge, but to eliminate evidence and witnesses before the broader investigation could unfold. As if on cue, my phone rang with a call from the county prosecutor. "Mr. Thompson," she said without preamble, "we're going to need your help. This case just expanded significantly. The FBI is involved now." 2 days later, our community gathered in the rebuilt community center, still processing the shocking events. The live stream from my security system had shown everyone the truth in real time. There was no room for doubt or manipulation of the narrative. "They underestimated this community twice," Jensen said, his elderly voice strong as he addressed the packed room. "First they thought we were too uninterested to notice financial fraud. Then they thought we were too disconnected to stand together." Looking around at my neighbors, people who had once been strangers controlled by fear and division under Karen's reign, I saw something powerful. A true community, united by shared experience and mutual protection. In the darkness of my home, training from my police days kicked in. I moved silently upstairs, gently waking Jessica with my hand over her mouth to keep her quiet. Her eyes widened with fear as I whispered, "Intruders outside. Take Ben to the attic crawl space. Use the emergency phone there." We'd installed a hardwired landline after Karen's first harassment campaign, something that couldn't be jammed like cell signals. Jessica nodded, instantly alert as she gathered our sleeping son. I kissed them both quickly before they disappeared through the hidden attic access in our closet ceiling. Retrieving my licensed firearm from the safe, I positioned myself where I could monitor both the front and back entrances. Through the window, I counted 4 shadowy figures converging on our home. Their coordinated movements suggested professional training, not random thugs Heather had hired, but experienced operators. The back door's lock clicked as someone worked it with professional tools. I had seconds at most before they were inside. Pulling out my old police badge, I positioned it where it would be visible and took cover behind the kitchen island. The door swung open silently as 2 figures entered, wearing dark clothing and what looked like tactical gear. I steadied my breathing, waiting until they were fully inside. "Police, freeze!" I shouted, weapon trained on them, hands where I can see them. The intruders hesitated just long enough for me to recognize one of them. Commissioner Miller, I said in disbelief, identifying Karen's husband, who had supposedly been serving probation for his role in the embezzlement scheme. His face contorted with rage as he raised what appeared to be a weapon. I fired a warning shot into the ceiling, causing them to drop to the floor. The next one won't miss, I said firmly. Face down, hands behind your heads. To my shock, Commissioner Miller laughed. You think this ends with us? You have no idea what you've stumbled into, Thompson. This isn't about a neighborhood HOA anymore. Before I could respond, the power suddenly returned, and with it, every screen in my smart home flickered to life simultaneously. TVs, computers, even digital picture frames, all displaying the same message. Transmitting live to all residents, Mike had managed to remotely override our neighborhood's emergency alert system, turning my home security cameras into a community-wide broadcast. Everything happening in my kitchen was now being streamed to every connected device in every home in our neighborhood. Commissioner Miller realized too late that his mask had slipped during the confrontation. His face was clearly visible to hundreds of neighbors watching in real time. What people don't know about the Miller family, I said loudly, ensuring the microphones picked up every word, is that the HOA fraud was just the tip of the iceberg. The real operation involves real estate manipulation across the county. Miller lunged toward me but froze when red and blue lights suddenly flashed through the windows. Mike had come through with reinforcements. As police officers swarmed my home, the second intruder tried to escape through a window but was quickly apprehended. When they removed his mask, I recognized Karen's brother, a county property assessor I'd seen at community events years earlier. The front door burst open as Heather herself stormed in, stopping short at the scene before her. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled as she saw her father and uncle in custody and at least a dozen witnesses in police uniforms. You were supposed to handle this, she screamed at her father, forgetting herself completely. Officer Jenkins, the same officer who had responded during the original confrontation with Karen, stepped forward with handcuffs. Heather Miller, you're under arrest for conspiracy, cyber crimes, breaking and entering, and attempted assault. As they led her away, Heather fixed me with a stare of pure hatred. This was never about just your stupid neighborhood. You have no idea what you've done. The following morning, as police forensic teams processed evidence from my home, Mike arrived with a thick folder. You were right about thinking bigger, he said, laying out documents on my kitchen table. I've been building this case for months since Heather arrived. Everything changed the night Mike called me in a panic. They're erasing everything, he said, his voice tight with urgency. All the evidence from Karen's case is being deleted from the county database. I still have contacts at the courthouse. Someone used administrator credentials to access the digital archives. I rushed to my computer to check our HOA cloud storage and found years of financial records systematically disappearing. Not just Karen's fraudulent transactions, but everything. A digital scorched earth campaign that would make financial reconstruction impossible. This isn't just revenge, I realized aloud. She's covering tracks. It's worse, Mike replied. I've been monitoring unusual financial patterns since Heather arrived. There's been a sharp increase in property purchases throughout the neighborhood by shell companies. Different names than Karen used, but same structure. I think they're trying to gain controlling interest in the community. My blood ran cold as the pieces clicked together. The Miller family isn't just seeking revenge. They're trying to take back control of their operation. Before I could say more, my home's power cut out completely. In the sudden darkness, I heard a notification ping on my phone. The last gasp of my Wi-Fi connection. It was a text from an unknown number. Like mother, like daughter. But I finish what I start. Through my living room window, I could see flashlight beams cutting through my backyard. Multiple intruders were approaching from different directions. My family was asleep, upstairs completely vulnerable. "Mike," I whispered urgently into the phone. "They're here, at my house. Get help." The line went dead as my cell service disappeared. Signal jammers, professional ones. This wasn't a simple intimidation tactic anymore. Heather Miller hadn't just come to restore her family's reputation or financial scheme. She'd come to eliminate the people who had destroyed it. When I tried warning other board members, they thought I was paranoid. Heather had cultivated their trust perfectly, and my concerns sounded like conspiratorial rambling against everyone's favorite new neighbor. "You're just seeing ghosts because of what happened with her mother," our new president told me dismissively. "Heather has brought wonderful energy to this community. Maybe you should consider stepping back from the board if you're still traumatized." I was being systematically isolated, just as Karen had once tried to do, but Heather's methods were far more sophisticated and dangerous. The first sign that something was wrong came during our community's one-year celebration picnic. We'd organized an event to commemorate the rebirth of our neighborhood after Karen's arrest. Tables filled with potluck dishes stretched across the park. Kids played on the newly installed playground equipment that Karen had blocked for years, and neighbors actually knew each other's names now. I was grilling burgers when Mike, the former private investigator who'd switched sides to help me expose Karen, approached with a concerned look. "Don't turn around now," he muttered, flipping a burger, "but there's someone you should know about. 3 o'clock, blue sundress, talking to Jensen." I casually glanced over and saw an attractive woman in her early 30s chatting with our elderly treasurer. Something about her seemed vaguely familiar. The confident posture, the practiced smile, the way she touched Jensen's arm while laughing at whatever he'd said. "That's Heather Miller," Mike said quietly. "Karen's daughter." My spatula froze mid-flip. I didn't even know Karen had a daughter. Moved away years ago, works in finance in Chicago, very successful by all accounts. Just showed up in town yesterday, bought the Williamsons' old place on Oak Street. "You've been checking up on her?" I asked, not surprised that Mike's investigative instincts were still sharp. He shrugged. "Old habits. Something feels off about her sudden interest in a community her mother's no longer part of, especially since she never visited in all the years Karen lived here. I wanted to believe it was innocent. Maybe Heather was making amends for her mother's crimes. But over the next few weeks, Mike's suspicions proved unnervingly accurate. It started with Jensen reporting that financial documents were being accessed at odd hours from unknown devices. Our cloud security logs showed logins we couldn't account for. Then board members began experiencing strange coincidences. Flat tires before important meetings, packages disappearing, alarm systems mysteriously malfunctioning. Meanwhile, Heather Miller was everywhere, volunteering for committees, attending every event, bringing homemade cookies to new residents. Her charm offensive worked brilliantly. Within 2 months, she was nominated to fill a vacant board position when Susan Jenkins unexpectedly moved across the country. "This is happening too fast," I told Jessica one night after Heather had dropped by with a plant for our son's birthday. A gift that seemed thoughtful until we discovered our son had never mentioned his birthday to her. How did she even know when his birthday was? Jessica looked disturbed. "Our calendar isn't public information." The next day, I convinced our IT volunteer to run a security audit. The results were alarming. Someone had installed sophisticated malware on our HOA management system that was quietly harvesting residents' personal data, including family details, work schedules, and financial information. Before we could investigate further, our community center's storage room caught fire, destroying years of paper records that hadn't yet been digitized, including documents related to Karen's fraud case. The fire department ruled it accidental, citing faulty wiring, but Mike and I knew better. "This was professional work," Mike whispered as we surveyed the damage. The point of origin was precisely where the most damaging documents were stored. That night, I received an anonymous text. "Some people should learn when to stop digging." The final confirmation came when I was reviewing security camera footage from the community center and spotted Heather accessing the storage room just hours before the fire, carrying what looked like a small bag. When I showed Mike, his face darkened. "She's not just here for community service," he said grimly. "This is about revenge." 2 days later, Heather was unanimously elected as board secretary, with access to all HOA systems, resident information, and financial accounts. I was the only vote against her, which immediately made me her primary target. Within a week, my family began experiencing what couldn't be dismissed as coincidence. My son's daycare received paperwork from us, withdrawing him from their program. My wife's car brake line showed signs of tampering. Our home security system was disabled remotely during the night, and we woke to find our front door standing open, nothing taken, just a message that we were vulnerable. 1 year ago, I told you how an HOA hired private investigator to spy on me, but he found their massive financial fraud instead. I thought bringing down our corrupt HOA president, Karen Miller, and exposing her $1.5 million fraud scheme would be the end of our neighborhood nightmare. I was wrong. Last Tuesday at 2 a.m., armed intruders broke into my home while my wife and 3-year-old son were sleeping upstairs. The person who sent them? Karen Miller's daughter, who'd spent months infiltrating our new HOA board, systematically erasing evidence of her mother's crimes, and planning the perfect revenge on everyone who testified against her family. My name's James Thompson, and what I'm about to share is even more shocking than the original HOA fraud. The same private investigator who switched sides to help me last year uncovered something far bigger. A county-wide corruption scheme worth tens of millions that makes our HOA embezzlement look tiny in comparison. As I stood in my darkened kitchen facing down Karen's husband, who was supposed to be on probation, I realized just how dangerous uncovering the truth had become for my family and our entire community.